What's up, Nation? My name is Law Nation, LAW Nation. I really appreciate each and every last one of you all for tuning in. We're going to talk a little bit about this team heading into the off season. Well, this is the off season, heading into the new season. There is an issue. The NFL may be following suit with the NBA, as well as with the NHL, MLB. The coronavirus is all around the world and everybody is panicking. And it is what it is. It is what it is. COVID-19, I think that's what they call it, COVID-19 coronavirus. It's highly contagious. This is the flu season. So NFL starts a little after the flu season. So maybe this pandemic will be gone by the time the NFL kickoff, but it could affect the drafting. It could affect the way training camps and these sorts of things are handled. But I want to encourage everybody out there to continue to wash their hands and be careful who they sit with and these sorts of things as it relates to seeing somebody coughing and sneezing, which is a natural process to get rid of viruses and whatever it may be. Drink plenty of fluids and make sure you keep everything in the right checks and orders. But imbalances and these sorts of things. I will say this, Nation. We still got to go and talk about this Dallas Cowboys. Back and forth. A lot of people talking about the money aspect. I think the new collective bargain agreement will get signed. And I think that this situation where everybody is on the fence with Dak Prescott, majority of the people talking about his money. I understand people got to click on clicks and click on articles and these sorts. But I will say this, Nation. Let's continue to grind and take this thing one day at a time. Understand this, even with Dak Prescott, as much as people still say that he can't heal water if he fell off a boat and these sorts, look, we got people that's highly in love with the Cowboys. And we got people that's highly upset with the Cowboys because of other things. All have their opinion on this matter. But at the end of the day, we do know that Jerry, Wayne, Jones still love to pay his guys. He may be hesitant, but at the end of the day, he still pay his guys. So I'm looking at this thing. I will see Amari Cooper getting paid. I will see a Dak Prescott getting paid because I just don't see Jerry, Wayne, Jones allowing Dak Prescott not to get paid. I just don't see it. I definitely don't see it. And on top of that, Cowboy Nation, this will be a situation where we will look back at this thing and I can see people who had the same, angles of their conversation as it relates to DeMarcus Lawrence, as it relates to Ezekiel, the main man, Elliott. You see, I'm thinking about Emmitt Smith, boy. But what I'm trying to say is, Jerry Jones always hesitant to pay, I guess, his skill players. The offensive line, we really don't see him being back and forth with those guys. It could be comfort. It could be similarities as it relates to Jerry used to play. He used to be an offensive lineman. Maybe his value constraints are different, basically. Maybe that's the situation. Maybe that's the scenario. But I will look at this team and say to you all that once we get all of the payment stuff out the way, because I'm really with the belief that the players will sign this new collective bargain agreement, and this salary cap will be $242 million salary cap or something north of that probably. And on top of that, once all of this stuff goes by with the coronavirus, whatever virus they have out there in the future, and they sign this new TV deal, I just feel that this NFL will be okay. I do. So let's just pump the brakes. Understand this right here, Cowboy Nation, that when you think about it, all we need is still one or two explosive guys. We already have Ezekiel Elliott. And a lot of people looking at his last year's numbers and say, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. He still equivalent his overall skill set and his numbers were still the same from his first 3 years or what have you. Minus the year that he was suspended, he still was on the same pace. Now, we did see some rush factor of him not starting off being explosive because he held out or what have you. It's time out for politics, Cowboy Nation. We don't want to see this same situation and scenario because we know for sure that Jerry is going to eventually pay Dak Prescott. So let's just go ahead, pony up, pay the man. I'm going to repeat, pony up, pay the man so he can be locked in and focused around training camp when they open this thing up. And then on top of that, let's go ahead and pony up and pay up Amari Cooper. Stop trying to look for some fault in this man. Understand that this Amari Cooper guy, yes, we were 3-5. We were 3-5. I got to say this every time. We were 3-5. We moved some stuff around and we got Amari Cooper. We gave up a first round draft pick. I'm going to repeat. We gave up a first round draft pick. We gave up a first round draft pick. So with that being said, now what we need to do is figure this thing out, pay Amari Cooper. Let's put the ink on paper. You got your wide receiver. You got your wide receiver in order. And then on top of that, you will have, dare I say, a better Michael Gallup because he's stepping it up. And on top of that, you pay Dak Prescott. Stop dragging this thing out. Let's go ahead and pay these guys. Let's go ahead and get this ball rolling in the right direction. Let's be battle tested. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling. And on top of that, let's shore up this defense. Because to me, if the defense is able to step it up, boy, oh boy. And then on top of that, even if we move up 10 slots as it relates to the special team play. Remember, we was ranked bottom half of the league last year. Let's move up 10 spots. 10 spots. I ain't asking for a lot. Just 10 spots, baby. That's more and better field positions. When you have better field position, guess what? Easier and more touchdowns. You see, we was talking about the fact that this team, nice as it relates to offense, just couldn't punch it in red zone, money zone on times, in certain times. But let me say this. Can you imagine a better special team unit? I already talked about Jason Garrett and how he held his team back and people got selective memory as it relates to his coaching. But let's improve on every aspect. Keep Dak Prescott. Let him work with Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, all he's been doing is going out there and improving these young quarterbacks. I'm quite sure that if we can just improve the pieces that's around Dakota Prescott, and I hear people say on other channels, if you take the weapons away from Dak Prescott, he will be 3-5 again. Don't have that into your mental mindset, because that process was still under Jason Garrett's administration. Because if you guys are not saying, well, he was 3-5, oh, Ezekiel Elliott don't get under that blame. Oh, you say he wasn't suspended; he was out there too. So stop just finger pointing at one person and look at it like this. We have a better coaching situation out here. On top of that, we will have that 1 or 2 explosive guys that can come aboard. Look, I got to talk about this too. The Byron Jones angle. I know that he don't get a lot of turnovers and takeaways. I know that his camp is asking for 16 and a half, close to 17, 18 mil for his particular skill set. The same angle that I have with Dak Prescott. If I'm on the free market, if I'm on the open market, and I'm asking a billionaire for money, don't you think that my camp, the people that represent me, don't you think that they gonna say, well, Give him the average bidding price, or give him below average bidding price. No, they don't do that. If you think they do that, I got land on the moon for sale. I got prime real estate, unsinkable land in Florida for sale. No, you ask for the highest price possible, and then you go back and forward. Your team go back and forward with their team, go back and forward, and then they figure out a compromisable or a number that everybody can settle in with. And if that number somehow, some way, or one way or another don't get satisfied, then it's time to move on. And that's including with my guy, Dak Prescott. You start off with the highest number. You go back and forward. You based it off according to historical data, according to market rates or market value. And you say, okay, here's the tape that I present. And then his party and his team, the opposing team or whatever, Jerry Wayne Jones at in the situation, he comes out with his side of the story. And you work this out. But what I'm saying is we have to work this thing out sooner. Somebody got to fold in sooner. And 9 times out of 10, looking at the $242 million available cap space, I think we can say that. Give Dak Prescott his bone. Speaking of bone, that's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's go. Let's go. Salute.